Tim, I think there's one person that you haven't seen in a while. Do you want to call him up on stage?
There's one person I haven't seen.
Ooh. Who's that?
This is. I don't know, dude.
The banner guy. The banner guy joke.
Oh my god. Yeah. Can we call? Where's the banner guy? Get him in here. Oh, there he is.
There we go.
Now he's slacking on the job. Nothing changes at Rising Empires, does it? Anyway.
You want to say that nothing changes on the Rising Empires, but I have something very cool. You remember that surprise I talked about?
I do.
All right, let's see it in action. KaiserJohan versus Avely. It is the first game of the playoffs here. We are watching it live. KaiserJohan on the Holy Roman Empire and Avely on Tim's wife. It is Jeanne d'Arc.
Oh my! Look at this! Look at the way we're able to do this. You look on the left, you see KaiserJohan scout, a beautiful blue scout. But don't pay too much attention, because if you look over on the right hand side, there's another scout floating around.
There's two scouts.
To it too.
There's two scouts. What's going on?
Unbelievable display of technology. Now with this, I mean, we talked a little bit about Jeanne d'Arc, but we know about the Holy Roman Empire, right? We know about what the Holy Roman Empire wants to do. And on Dry Arabia, you're absolutely right when you talked about how the HRE likes to play on hybrid maps, just because their wood economy is very good with the Aka Chapel, right? When they're on Dry Arabia, though, Cal, what do you think they're mostly looking for here? Just because they have no water, they're not going to be able to use a wood economy to advantage. So what are they going to try to do?
I don't know. I think it's just grabbing relics and making sure that, just play HRE and do HRE things. So the thing is, BC has made a guide on this as well, right? It's actually just either you just completely wall yourself up and do nothing against, and just don't interact with JD at all, or you see what is going on right now, and that is a Spearman and a Tower Rush as the HRE.
Yeah, you were talking about maybe don't interact as much, or you interact very early. Right, and that's exactly what KaiserJohan is doing, bringing a couple spearmen out. The HRE not one to do any kind of tower rushing tactics, but 2 minutes 30 seconds into the game, our lovely Jeanne d'Arc peasant, she's doing the best she can to try to build that school of cavalry, and she has another peasant helping her out. But you might see a tower on this gold and 4 spearmen for KaiserJohan. He is really, he's spending a lot of resources to do this.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm very sad the prelate is still at home.
Yeah, I mean, and the prelate could really help you. I mean, obviously from an economic sense, but from a militaristic sense too. He can heal up some of these spearmen. But for Jeanne d'Arc, I mean, usually they play. It is a variant of French, right? They want to be left alone in the first 3 to 4 minutes. They want to understand what's going on. Jeanne d'Arc running for her ever-loving life here, trying to get that +4 XP to try to build the school cavalry. But G Spearman, you see the outpost coming up too on the blueprint there. You can see it's probably about 30%. Yeah, about 30%, 1/3 of the way there. The school cavalry is going to end up going up, but you're only going to make horsemen out of it. And for Jeanne d'Arc and for any kind of French, whether you're the parent or the variant civilization, not having knights, and especially against HRE, that's so huge.
Yeah, it's pretty big. I mean, Avely is going to be able to get out 1 knight just because of the gold he's been gathered from this gold vein during the age up. So he's still gonna get out a knight. The issue is, where are you going to be pulling them? Oh, and we actually do see KaiserJohan here as well. He's pulling 1 spearman, just going to be checking out the extra gold vein, making sure that there's no sneaky action going on here. And we do have age up coming through, and we do have that tower going up as well.
And that's that's so important. And I think for if you're a lower elo player watching these and you're trying to learn something, when you're getting aggressive with things like a tower rush, you got to think, okay, well, I stopped that first gold node. That's pretty cool. But where are they going to go next? And that's why he sent that spearman over to that gold node, just to make sure that KaiserJohan is completely, or Avely, excuse me, is completely void of gold. And he absolutely is. Now, he did have a little bit of gold to try to get a knight out, and he will have 1 knight for some kind of raids, but looking at this HRE base, there isn't too much that he might be able to raid.
Yeah, he's already got a couple of spearmen at home. He's still producing them during the age up as well, right? So he's well aware of just the thought of having it, and we actually do have JD plus 5 villagers out here on pretty much the furthest away gold vein you can possibly get. So is going to be chilling here, is going to be moving out.
Yeah, I mean, for those, if for getting gold, especially as a French civilization, you got to get it from somewhere, right? I mean, there's gold nodes all over the map, so you might as well pick
Wait,
one. They're also trying to pull that boar.
Can
Looks
she
like,
do
I mean,
it can she do it level 1?
I'm not quite sure if she could do it herself, but I don't underestimate the power of my love, Jeanne d'Arc. Hopefully when she's able to get that mill up, maybe she'll get to level 2 just about after that. But going for that boar, I mean, this is typical Jeanne d'Arc strategy, right? Having your villagers on board just means you can pump out those knights just a little bit quicker. And it looks like KaiserJohan on the flip side for HRE going for more of a booming strategy. Going to be trying to get a second town center. You see how many he has on stone. Jeanne d'Arc does get level 2, however, and that pork will be pulled right next to that mill for some delectable pulled pork sandwiches.
Sounds good to me. I mean, I don't know. It's really weird. Okay, it's going on a totally weird anecdote there. My parents doesn't like pulled pork.
Okay, that's great. I hope everyone's writing that down.
So, anyways, it's really weird, right? Though, we do have like 5 villagers out there just chilling on the golds and nothing at home. The mill has been built, so it's ready to be taken on the boar carcass. I expect when the sheep at home will run out at some point, and he has the map pressure that he wants to, because he's putting a lot of pressure with this one knight just moving about. He will eventually move out and gather the boar. It's just a question of time.
Yeah, and I mean, and now that KaiserJohan, you see the scout over here, Jeanne d'Arc is going to do everything she can to get that scout out of there. But now KaiserJohan knows that Avely's getting gold, and he knows precisely where. So if he wants to get a little bit aggressive after the second town center. Although you got to remember, you're playing against Jeanne d'Arc, and every time you do get aggressive, when your military units end up dying, Jeanne d'Arc gets XP from it. So do you want to take or try to raid a lot of these outside food resources at the risk of giving Jeanne d'Arc some XP? We'll see what KaiserJohan wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, right now, he's playing the turtle game. He's going with that second town center. Perfectly placed as well. Can put a farm in between there. Love to see it. It's not securing up a lot of resources, but it does block off the access for the knights onto the woodlines here. It's going to be him walling up to making sure that they are not coming in. So I think he just wants to play this slow turtle game here. I mean, he's sitting... He's putting up a tower as well. Doesn't have the stone just yet to put in arrow slits here, but I'm expecting that to come out very, very soon.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for KaiserJohan, I think he's playing it pretty well. It reminds me of the Mongolians of old, when you tower rush in the beginning, like in Dark Age or something like that, and then you kind of just fast castle right up afterward. And it seems like KaiserJohan's trying to do a similar strategy as to that. The walls are really going to help him out. He stalled Avely just a little bit, because you got to think, like 8 minutes 30 seconds in the game, imagine if he didn't tower rush. That 4 knights is probably somewhere around 8 or 9, you know? So that would be more of a damaging effect, and that would be very difficult for KaiserJohan to do something about. But now he's continuously being able to put some spearmen down. His Aachen chapel is safe. He's starting to cultivate some Aachen fields. As you can see on the top right part of your screen, you see a lot of those farms coming in. Another raid trying to come in from Avely. Excellent pull from KaiserJohan going back into that outpost. You're right, maybe something like arrow slits or a fortification. That outpost might be a good idea as well. But as long as his gold is relatively safe, he's got 5 or 6 villagers there, he can get up to Castle Age pretty much unscathed.
Hopefully. I mean, it's going to be a slow burner, basically, right? I mean, he really wants to get up to Castle Age, considering there's 2 towers here. And as you said, arrow slits are coming through. Remember, it's the HRE, so they get them even cheaper. And it looks like he even wants to get more. I think even when you're out there, you kind of just want arrow slits on the outpost as well. Just, why not, right? It's basically free for the HRE. But we do have a couple of raids here. Almost. Did that villager take damage or not is the question.
I'm not really sure, just with the knights. I didn't hear the brace actually hit.
But I saw the particles.
Oh, there was.
Yeah.
Yes, that villager at about, what was it, 20 health? Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it did take a brace that went into safety. But I really like what KaiserJohan's doing too with that second town center. And not only is this kind of acting like a wall almost, but it's also the way that he's microing the town center itself. He's trying to take out the archers specifically. The knights aren't that big of a deal because of all the spearmen that you have. It was a really good idea for him to do, although they might want to, you know, get out of there at some point.
Scoot away a little bit here. But yeah, I mean, going for 2 TC like this means that Avely is forced into playing aggressive, right? He's on a timer. He never went for a second TC himself, as JD doesn't have the same effect and passive bonus that the French do, right? They don't have that plus 10% or whatever it is villager production. So Avely is just on normal 1 TC and KaiserJohan is just on normal 2 TC. So you gotta remember as well, the Aachen is here. Really, really helping with a lot of these farms in the feudal age. Doesn't have the eco upgrade for it though, which can criticize just a little bit. And back home, just in time, there's a lot of idle villagers right now that still has not moved out onto the boar.
Yeah, and I mean, this is kind of French having age-old French difficulties. You know, I mean, doing things like a farm transition for the French is not something that you want to do, especially this early into the game, because it's very taxing for your civilization to go. You give up a lot of tempo to do it, where KaiserJohan, he's able to pull this off pretty much relatively unscathed. Avely does get a ram, so we're seeing a very quick ram ranch in the beginning of the game. Knights on the western side trying to raid those Aachen fields, but my god, everything is just so ironclad defensive. There's even an outpost going on, and what is KaiserJohan going to do? Jeanne d'Arc is still level 2, right? She's not as menacing as you might think, so he's going up with Burgrave. He's going to try to get some Castellate units to really take it to him.
Issue here though, there's only 1 ram that is working on this town centers. Town centers are weaker now than they used to be, but at the same time, gotta remember, HRE emergency repairs is available to be used. It's target firing, not using the emergency repairs. Gotta remember, please. Please.
Jesus.
Oh no! Johan, there's one button. There's only 1 button you can press.
And it's very difficult to say that wouldn't be a blunder, but now with that second town center going down, we talked about economic advantage. It's not necessarily there anymore. Outpost going down as well. The first worker kills of the game really helping him out. Now KaiserJohan, his Aachen fields have to be vacated. And what does that mean? All that time that you spent trying to get all of those farms underway is now basically null and void if Avely keeps on the pressure. He's got some berries on the western side that you highlighted ever so well on that side. But again, Barry's not going to do as well as those Aachen fields. He's trying to keep going back. You see how many villagers he has on food. He's got about 30 villagers on food. Well, it might be more so in the 20s now that a couple villagers end up going down. That's the 3rd worker kill. But on the same side, there's a reason why you go Burgrave, right? You want to get that tempo for the first 3 to 4 minutes that Burgrave is out. But if you don't have the food economy to continuously pump those barracks units, it's just a pretty building, Cal.
Just a very, very pretty building. The blacksmith upgrades nowhere to be seen. Needs the +1 range damage and range armor to be able to deal with what Avely has. But as well, man-at-arms are coming through here now. Has all of the upgrades, so will be doing bonus damage to the knights. Is able to soak up a lot of damage, but does not want to take a fight when he does not have the mass, because you do not want to take a bad fight against the JD.
Yeah, he really wants to get a mass just to make sure that if he does take a fight, he ends up becoming victorious, because it's very punishing against Jeanne d'Arc. If you do take a fight that ends up not going your way, you just gave Jeanne d'Arc XP, and now they have a military lead on you, so that's very difficult. KaiserJohan has been saving all... Dear sweet Jesus. Another one. No outposts in this particular region. This might be a death sentence for KaiserJohan. Look at all those villagers that end up going down. He must have saw all those deer getting taken down. Look at how many worker kills that is, Cal. That's 16 now. Might go up into 20 men-at-arms. They are only foot soldiers, so it's going to be difficult for them to actually come back in defense. 1 knight goes down, but I'll tell you what, I'll take 19 worker kills for a dead knight. That's for damn sure.
That is very for sure. Usually you discuss like, is it worth it to throw away 1 knight for 1 villager kill? How about 1 knight for like 10 villager kills? However, Aachen Chapel has been taken down. Man-at-arms mass is slowly but surely building, is getting those blacksmith upgrades. JD still not level 3, however, only 50 XP away, so this one fight could be it. If he wins this fight, could be good. If he loses the fight, could be really, really bad. But JD, almost level 3 now, is going to be ticking up to that H3. Does he manage to kill it before she gets H3? Oh no, but the man-at-arms, they're still doing damage, they're still taking damage, however, there's not enough reinforcements. And KaiserJohan will tap out. It's 1-0 for Avely here in this best of 3.
Yeah, Jeanne d'Arc might have died in that battle, but by God, does her spirit live on. In a 1-0 for Avely right now going into game 2. Very difficult to give any kind of analysis for this one because KaiserJohan, I feel like he did kind of the right thing. He went for that tower rush in the beginning, and I think it really stalled. I think it was just the defense going into age 3 that made it really difficult for him to take. Then obviously those villagers going on the deer, I mean, yeah, that was, kind of an issue. But on the flip side, even if that didn't happen, right, I think it would have been difficult for him to muster up enough men-at-arms because for Jeanne d'Arc, the second town center for the HRE takes a little bit of time to come up, right? But you also got to be thinking about the consecrate ability for Jeanne d'Arc. So it's not necessarily going for that second town center, because obviously, Avely didn't do that. But using the consecrate ability on things like School of Cavalry, you know how big of a deal that is to reduce the food count of a unit that's 140 food? If you're reducing it by a percentage, you could constantly churn those things out.
I mean, a knight for 100 food? Yes, please.
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to say no to that deal.
Like, it's especially, and it just like, it exponentially increases. Well, I should, well, not technically exponentially. I don't want any math majors to come down on me. But it does take, for how many stables you actually put that on. You're saving 35 food, if I remember. You're saving 35 food apiece. It takes 32 seconds without School of Cavalry, so 28 seconds to get those knights out. So you're saving 70 food per minute. How many stables? You're increasing that by 70 food a minute. So what does that mean? You can keep making more of them, or you can keep going into Castle Age. So it's super important. And I think for Avely, the consecrate ability pays off a little bit more quickly than a second town center. I think that's really what we saw there.
Yeah, for sure as well. I mean, that's the thing as well. The consecrate is the eco bonus of JD. Like, that is their eco bonus, right? It's having less gathering time to make the same unit. Of course, it doesn't make too much sense to be giving it on a on a what is called the town center. But what does make sense is taking us into the next game. We are going to game number 2.
Look at that curtain guy. He was actually on top of it. What a time to be alive. Avely playing as the Japanese in the color green, spawning in the southeastern part of the rockiest of rivers. His opponent, KaiserJohan, playing as the Mongols, spawning in the top western side-ish of this map, playing as the color orange. Now, Rocky River is in the ranked map pool, as you know, because I would imagine you'd be playing ranked as well. Give me your opinion on this map, just your personal opinion. Are you a fan of this map?
Yeah, kinda.
Okay,
Kinda.
Great. Keep me on my toes. Don't give me a
So the thing about this map, right, which is really interesting, and we can see it here, that's happening. Nobody's going for water. There's no point in going for water. It was such a good map, and then they removed the water for like no reason, which was like, come on, just keep the 4 fish there, it's fine. But I think it's a good map. I talked a little bit with Bitterlin about this, and it is a accumulation, or like a accumulation, I think is the word, of both Dry River and Rocky Canyon, and you just kind of just put them together, which I think is a really interesting idea, right? Because I don't know about you, but when those maps first came out, I could not remember which one was which, because both of them was dry in the middle, both of them had water in the middle, both of them had stone and food in the middle, so it was like, is this the same map? Just different?
And One of the nickname that I have for this map on my stream is Wet Arabia, because you have these ponds here, and because there's only 2 shorefish, it's not really worth putting a dock. There are a couple civilizations that you might be okay with doing that, and I think Avely's playing one of them. Japanese, just because the fishing boats are half cost, and the I would say the Iubids are a Basset as well, just because your docks are half price. Like anything that will give you a little bit of a discount, it might be worth doing that. But Avely's doing a little mix-up. We should talk about the Japanese, what we're actually seeing here. Avely going for the Koka Township. He's going to be making some of those dastardly shinobis that are a little bit, honestly, they're a little bit on the expensive side. But man, do they pack a punch. With 20 damage, they're ready to take out a villager and lickety-split.
You have a lot more experience with the Japanese, though, because I have not played a single game of them except the one FFA where I randomed into them. So what is your thoughts on the Japanese, and how do you think the landmarks basically stack up to each other?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the Koka Township really has, like, it really shines. It has the best playability when you're dealing with hybrid maps. So if KaiserJohan did have docks around and doing that kind of stuff, you could use your Shinobi. You can sabotage those docks. You can make sure that he can not get any military units. So it's really good on a map like Canal or something like that. But these Shinobi also really good at stopping something like a tower rush. Look at this Shinobi. He's dodging, dip, diving, dodging, weaving. I don't remember the dodgeball quote, but he's getting in there to try to take down that villager. The spearmen are going to be able to stand ground and not give that villager any personal space whatsoever. I don't know what's going on in that little huddle, but the Shinobi trying to get to that villager, it looks like it, oh man, just trying to get in there, not quite able to. The one thing about the Shinobi that annoys me specifically about using them is their animations when they do things, their sabotage, their attack, and all that kind of stuff. It takes a little bit of time,
Yeah, you can see
in order
here,
to do that.
I mean, it just did an
sabotage.
animation, but I don't know which one it was.
Right, like it has to like complete the animation in order to actually do something, right? But he did sabotage that outpost, so the villager's going to have to spend some time burning it. That forge did not get canceled or didn't get deleted, so he will be able to get some raid bounty there. It's going to help him get up just a little bit quicker. But I think for the Japanese, if you're playing on a completely dry map, to answer your question, the Kura storehouse might be a little bit better just because of the ability for your economy to get so under wraps, you know, getting those farms for free. And then combining, it works so synergistically with the town center when you get your Daimyo Palace and all that kind of stuff to increase your farm economy. So the Shinobi, first Shinobi went for that tower, did a pretty decent job trying. You know, that villager didn't end up going down. That tower went up. That second Shinobi looking to get a little offensive here, Cow. He's looking for some kind of area to sabotage. He's going to try to blink his way into the Mongolian province here. And let's see how much damage they're able to do, because for the Koka Township, you really got to pay it off in feudal.
For sure. I mean, it's a very bad landmark in late game. I mean, I feel like the second it passes like 15 minutes, the Shinobi kind of just like, they exist, but to be honest, I don't see it being very much used in late game. I can see like some strategy at like 40 minutes Imperial where like do a landmark snipe of some sort with like 15 Shinobi or something, but that's like the randomest point you can possibly think about it. However, when it comes to Shinobi in the early game, as you said, right, disabling and sabotaging the docks is a huge thing if there was any docks to sabotage. As of right now, there's nothing to sabotage. We did see an attempt of some Shinobis that is now coming back home because he realizes that basically the base of KaiserJohan, if you have a look at it, it's basically unsabotageable. Is that a word?
It is now. And I think looking at this Mongolian base, I mean, if you've played the Mongols before, you know that your spawns can be subjected to some RNG, right? The gold mine is a little bit out there, so maybe if he was going to do something, it might be that gold mine on the top side, but his wood line's there, all of his production buildings there, his Uvu's right next to the town center too, so you can't sabotage that really either. And KaiserJohan's doing the age-old Mongols that we've seen since, I don't know what season, 4 probably at this point, when trade was really, really good. He's going for the silver tree. He's going to park up that SOB, put him all the way on the western side where that gold mine is, and start to get some trade going because that tower gives him a little bit of map control.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good tower as well when you think about it. We haven't really discussed it, but he does get both gold veins. What I would like to see, which is something that Avely is already doing, he's just stacking up and making some shinobi, and he is just going to be sabotaging the building slowly but surely. And, you know, it is taking damage, and I think at this point it's taking enough where it will keep on burning. Yeah. So, arrow slits, which was just completed, basically a wasted investment.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not going to do too much. I mean, the tower placement has been really nice because there's 2 gold nodes there. Avely has been having to get stone, and you've seen how many villagers he has on stone. You see how much stockpile of stone that he has as well, and one of the reasons why, I think, is because of that outpost that's there. Now KaiserJohan trying to establish more map control, keep that player back into his base, try to get a little bit of Keshik rate. He probably did it ×2. The Shinobi trying to get some damage in there, didn't quite get it. Keshik did not get the charge either, to my recollection. And taking a look at Avely's base right now, Rocky River is usually to a point where your base might be a little bit on the safe side. KaiserJohan has made it so Avely has been under duress pretty much since minute 1.
Yeah, and he only has 4 sheep. However, he does have that town center in his pocket that will be available to be plopped down somewhere. Just have to decide where, and wouldn't be surprised if it does end up going on the gold, which will be secured. Now Keshiks are out here in trade, slowly but surely building up. Avely, a moment of silence here, basically, was able to put down the silver tree, so still trade will be started. 72 gold. So
You love that.
I'm alright.
You love
with
a little
that.
bit of 72 gold. I mean, you got to remember, it's just one pass, right? You get 72 gold. So if that trader comes back and forth, he'll be able to pay himself off and then some. A little bit of shinobi going down. Those archers are not keen to ninjas. And archers will be trying to take down a couple of those shinobi. But now that the second town center is coming up for Avely, and KaiserJohan's continuing to keep this aggression, I think KaiserJohan is playing Mongols beautifully right now. You got a little bit of that tower rush in the beginning. You're having this player consistently be under duress, and this is what the Mongols are so good at, trying to stay offensive and then trading behind it. All of a sudden, you're thinking, well, this Mongol player, he put a lot of military. You see military count up there, 17-3. Got a couple of them at buy one, get one, BOGO. So a little bit extra resources there. And then secondly, because of that trade, you're going to see the Mongols at some point, maybe about like 3 minutes later into this game, go Castle Age. And you're going to be like, how the hell did that even happen?
Yeah, trade is going to be scaling, slowly but surely adding those in, and just 4 traders going to be supplying him with a ton of gold that's going to be lasting for quite a while. However, Avely is not too intent on actually making any military units except for those shinobi, because he will be going up to that Castle Age. And once that Castle Age comes, there is a couple of units, but we have seen the mounted samurai quite a bit recently, which has taken a little bit of popularity, but there's one unit composition. I actually should say just unit, because honestly, it's pretty busted. Faye has just been spamming on ladder, just pure on the Bageisha.
Yeah, and they're honestly, those Onobugisha are one hell of a unit. We might be seeing them a little bit later. He does go with Spearman initially, and I think Spearman is a better defensive unit at this point, because he's got Keshik's raiding him in all different areas. Got a nice little raid bounty on that forge, and you can see Avely, while he's stockpiling a little bit of these resources, you could think Castle's probably on his mind at some point, but because he went for the Coca, he did not go for the Kira storehouse. His food economy isn't exactly safe. You know, he doesn't have those free farms spawning around his town center. So what's he got to do? All the way on that eastern tip of the map there, he's going on all of these berries. And yeah, berries good for the Japanese. He's going to have to wall his way around. But my God, if KaiserJohan finds that, it's going to be a death sentence for Avely. But KaiserJohan taking his sights, putting a bullseye on that second town center. And in game number 2, this is the second straight game, the Ram Rancher becomes the Ram Ranchee.
That's a lot of ram. A lot of dressing. Shinobi on the trade line, battering ram coming out as well. It's going to take a good eco damage here. Keshiks are in on the battle here, though. And we do have that Uma Bannerman who is in on the action, but taking a lot of damage here. Gonna be going down as well, but the eco damage, look at it, 9 villager kills so far. More is gonna be coming because they can't jump into a tower, they can't jump into a town center that already is full. Keshiks coming through here as well. They're having a field day at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Avely just took a substantial amount of problem. 13 worker kills. He does have a good job of getting those shinobi up there, trying to take down some of that trade.
Oh no.
I think that's really important, but now he has found the berries on the eastern side. 8 villagers. They're looking for the next map to go to. They're like, where's the next rocky river? I'm over there on that eastern corner, but a lot of them are going to end up going down.
Can I go any further here? Nope. Not even the camera can go any further than that. Villagers taking damage. Town center. Is that town center shooting without anything in it? Anyways. Is that... Yeah, that town center is shooting without anything in it.
Yeah, so the Daimyo Manor, not only do you get a free villager, but you get a free arrow.
True, I completely forgot about that. I was like, oh my gosh, what is this bug? But...
And now, I mean, take a look at... I mean, usually people will say, don't look at the score, because the score could be a little wonky on Age of Empires 4 because of Mongols unpacking buildings, all that kind of stuff. I think this score is a little bit warranted at this point. Economic count 55 to 32. Military count 22 to 4. And Avely is struggling to try to get some of these spearmen. He's getting another Uma Bannerman, which is great, but there really isn't anything that the Uma Bannerman is going to be able to do. I think he's just looking for some kind of pound-for-pound military use.
Yeah, I mean, he just wants to put on the pressure, and we do have the Uma Bannerman, right? You need to return some kind of pressure. We're up to 12 villagers, traders right now. Silk Road has been on tier 2 for a little bit. But units are just streaming across of the map right now, and there's nothing that Avely can realistically do. He wants to go up the castle, that is his point, that was his game plan. But a tower rush, then the pressure, then the ram, and now the raiding, it's just not feasible for him to do.
Yeah, Avely's kind of caught at a point where, yeah, he was thinking about going Castle Age, but if you do go Castle Age, it's a death sentence, right? Because you spent 1,800 resources putting it in a landmark that you probably should have been making units at this point, especially with KaiserJohan continuing to, you know, Avely's nowhere near Castle Age and continuing to try to make spearmen. It looks like one at a time. Couple rams going to be coming in here trying to take down that Daimyo Manor. Spearmen are going to try to come in. They're going to push back just a little bit. Villagers getting pissed off, pulling their torches out, but that will be the last thing that a lot of those villagers end up doing. 24 total worker kill counts, coming out from KaiserJohan. You can see how much that's affected the economic count. He has no way to stop these rams from taking down that second town center. That economic prowess that Avely tried so hard to get, is now burning and will be disintegrated very shortly.
Uma Bannerman taking up a lot of damage here, but so is the villagers. They're basically a meat shield at this point. Town center will shortly go down as well. Just more villagers for the plate of those Keshiks, those vampire Keshiks. And right now, it's going to be trading villagers for those archers, and I think that's a trade that is happy to do with a new look at Avely's villager count right now. It's pretty much all of them is idle, and where's those working? They're not even here. He's been doing a farm transition slowly but surely. It's just so brutal.
Yeah, this was just super rough for Avely. I mean, I know that he's trying to do the best he can to try his claw his way back into the game, but I think it's going to be very challenging for him to do. Now, it is nice on Rocky River. There's a little bit more berry patches than usual, but on the flip side, I mean, obviously they're not safe. The Mongols have about 93% of this map. The only thing that, if you were to extenuate a little bit of border for Avely, it's not going to be very far on the Rocky River. So KaiserJohan can have the ability to do things like trade, and that's what's so damaging when playing against the Mongols and they get so aggressive. Look at all that gold that you're highlighting up there. 1,700 gold. He can save it for next game and still win. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's just pretty brutal. Again, yeah, score is not looking too rough right now. It's kind of time to GG out.
Yeah, Avely notices, and KaiserJohan sent about 2 or 3 rams. That was a kind of get the hell out of my game ram ranch. And when that second town center ended up going down, that was pretty much it for him. Rather dominating display from KaiserJohan as the Mongols And you got to think for Avely, man, that Coca Township, it really makes me scratch my head a little bit.
I understand the idea against the tower rush to a certain extent, but the farms are just too good to give up, right? Because you're able to control where they come, right? You're able to put it on the other side of the tower rush, and it just takes so long for the Mongol to rotate one side or the other. I do want to highlight though, this is the villager count, not the economy count. And Avely was never ahead even in villagers. And I think if we take a look at economy count, yikes.
Yeah, that's a big yikers. I mean, I understand from Avely's perspective. I mean, the Japanese, it is not a good matchup against the Mongols. So, you might as well pull some coke out, right, ladies and gentlemen? And speaking of, for ladies and gentlemen, we got a massive raid from Demu. Hi,
Hello.
everybody. I'm 10-4 Timmy. You cannot see me on the screen, but I am here. We have Cow here as well with the Chiefs of Warchief. Semifinals and quarterfinals. That's what's going to be going on today. There's a lot of follows. Thank you very much. I see somebody in chat saying, why can't I see the beautiful Tim? And that's because you wouldn't be focused on the game, Draxos. Keep your eyes on the game. All right?
Eyes on the road, eyes on the game. Yeah, I think so.
but we are in a 1-1 tie. Avely and Kaiser, this is a best of 3. We're going to be seeing game 3 coming up shortly. There's so many follows. Oh my God. I'm hearing this bell in my ear over and over again because Cow is sharing me the feed, and it's really making me feel some type of way. Thanks, guys, for supporting Rising Empires and the Chiefs of Warchief. Tournament game number 3 has the Rus. I love that. And as the Ayubids. Very interesting matchup. And this is one actually on ladder for how much I play Rus. I don't think I've ever experienced yet.
That is... I've played Ayubids French, but not Ayubids Rus. So, this is interesting though, because I've discussed this a little bit with Valdemar on how you actually do with like 2 TC civs. And there is a method to the madness that you can do, because you do get 3 free villagers as the Ayubids. But we will have to properly see, because we are getting into game number 3. Winner will go on to the next series, which I don't remember on top of my head. But what I do remember on top of my head, however, is a lovely button that I set up for myself, because I am a little bit of that kind of person. For those who came from the raid, we have some production here. Gonna spice it up.
Oh my God. There's 2 of them. They're twins. But Avely playing in the color blue, spawning in the south part of the map. As the Rus, KaiserJohan in this pivotal knockdown, drag out. Game number 3 playing as the Ayubids. This is a matchup of heavyweights. The Rus is one of those civilizations that a lot of people put in their top 5. The Ayubids coming in as a civilization that I know we've all gambled to oblivion. And because of that nerf, we all know that the house always wins, so we don't gamble anymore. But Ayubids do have some particular build up their sleeve, and that's the number one thing that I want to talk about going into this matchup, and that's the Ayubid Fast Castle. I'm sure from the games that you've played on ladder and from the people in chat that have played on ladder, you've been dealing with an Ayubid Fast Castle, and sometimes it makes you want to flip your desk over.
Yeah, pretty much. Usually I am the Ayubids player though, and I actually am one of those people who like to do the all-in feudal style, so I know nerd. So, yeah, sorry guys, we don't have enough screens for all of the 4 scouts. I mean, the technology is not there. I need to work on that. So, however, Bounty will be coming up shortly, hopefully. And, well, honestly, I think the only option you have as the Ayubids is actually just straight up just go for camels, right? Hopefully we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta think Camel's the best play, right? I mean, it's difficult for when you're dealing with a knight civilization like the Rus. When you do things like, I see a lot of people do like Gulam spamming and stuff like that, which that's all well and good, but because you have early knights as the Rus, are not necessarily royal knights, but they're still knights. They'll be able to provide some sort of defense. For the Ayubids going with Camel Lancer, obviously it'll make it a little bit more difficult. But the Rus is one of those civilizations, and one of the reasons why, me personally, I love playing it so much, is it's very difficult to raid. You know, you have a defensive landmark that is a stronghold in the Kremlin. So we'll see, depending on where that Kremlin placement is, and I think a lot of it depends on the spawn as well, how well that Kremlin is going to do. Because you got to remember that Kremlin, we're going to see it plop down in just, maybe about a few seconds or so. But you got to be thinking about the Kremlin has the ability to, because of the fact that it does have castle turret on it, it has +3 to every single arrow. So we can get through some heavily armored units.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, Ghulams actually take they take a decent bit of damage actually from the Kremlin, as you said. I'm just trying to think here a little bit. Step 1, where the is the Kremlin? Thank you. You were sitting at 600 food there for a minute.
Yeah, a lot of it was because he didn't have the bounty and he got wheelbarrow already.
Yeah.
The big thing about wheelbarrow is, as far as bounty goes, you need to have, if you have a good hunting cabin, you can get it about 190, 195, but 200 is really the one mark that you really have to hit before you start getting wheelbarrow. So that Kremlin's going to be a little bit delayed. He does go on the stone, however, which leads me to believe that a second town center might be coming out. And for the Ayubids, for somebody who can get up to Castle Age very, very quickly, if that's what he decides to do, he's going to be licking his chops at that.
Yeah, I mean, the Desert Raider is not going to be in time. I've talked with a couple of both Abbasid players and Ayubid players, and theoretically, I think the fastest you can actually get an age up, except for the fast age up, is 417, which, you know, if you know that timing and you know how long it takes, you know how greedy you can be with your placement of your landmarks. However, I have a problem with this Kremlin, though. How are you going to be boosting up these woodlands? I guess you can put the Thumper Camp here?
I think, to be honest, Cal, I think you would be shocked and amazed how much range the Kremlin actually has. And it also extends to the town center. So you could chain a lumber camp that might be able to get to that wood line over there. Both of them are forward, though. Makes it a little difficult for Avely. I mean, wood economy is obviously very important as the Rus, and especially if you're trying to go for that second town center. But that Desert Raider, yeah, it didn't get there in time to, assault any kind of Kremlin building activities. But what it can do, because of the military wing popping out those free Desert Raiders, is it might make that second town center difficult to put up. And Avely's already a little bit delayed. So once he actually gets that second town center blueprint up, KaiserJohan might already be going to castle. In the meantime, having a couple Desert Raiders trying to take pot shots at villagers trying to build it.
Could be. I mean, it wouldn't have been too bad of a Kremlin placement, to be honest, out here. Like, I wouldn't actually have minded a Kremlin placement here, and then you just gather from the big stone vein, and then you put the town center here, for example, right? You have a lot of food here in this area. It is Lipny after all. In fact, I actually do not know if this is EGC Lipny or normal Lipny. It is normal Lipny, so it's not EGC Lipny, which, I mean, makes sense when you look at this spawn.
And I'd love to talk about Kremlin placements because everybody in my chat makes fun of the Kremlins that I put down. So if you go for that one on the northwestern part, where that's big stone outcropping and the deer that's right there, it leaves your base rather undefended. So it feels like you kind of lose no matter what. I mean, this second town center is going to be difficult for him to pace, and he's going to have to be really, really conservative on that placement because it's going to be very damaging for him. And I know KaiserJohan did hit the button to go up to Castle Age, so
yeah,
the House of Wisdom will be working on that. In the meantime, Avely trying to get a little bit of a cheeky raid going on. We're 7 minutes in. We do see a knight. One villager actually does go down. You hear the screams of the Ayubid villager. This is a variant civ of the Abbasids, so the shrieks and screams are going to be apparent in this game, and hopefully for Avely, he's looking to hear that as a nice soundtrack as a raid trying to be coming in on another gold mine. What's great about that outpost, though, it just gives you so much vision. If that knight's sitting there without the micro, they're going to know about it.
Okay, what will finish first, the age up or a second town center from the Rus?
And this is the thing too. I mean, like, yeah, he's gonna wall around that area, and I think the walling is an excellent idea. Walling around that second town center is really gonna help you out. It's really gonna help you establish against any kind of raids. I think this is the safest way Avely can do it. You know, but KaiserJohan, it's 7 minutes 50 seconds into the game. KaiserJohan's already age 3, I should say, and will be trying to make any kind of castle age units. And this is that big power spike of the Iubids that we're talking about. Avely knows he's probably played against this over and over and over again. So what's he got to do? He's got to try to build walls. But because the Rus build order was a little bit delayed for him, the walls are a little bit delayed as well. And that wood line looking particularly tasty.
It's looking pretty juicy. I mean, juicy might be played later. We might see later in the day. We'll have to see again. But this is like the absolute insanity of these Desert Raiders. Are they even upgraded? They're still H2 and they're just taking out knights like no tomorrow. There's no problem about them, man. Behind all of this, going with archers, getting relics with dervishes as well, should have no problem getting up to 5 relics, despite not even going for the culture wing that gives the free dervishes. So this is just some insane pressure from against a knight save, in fact.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what I'm talking about for the Desert Raiders, or should I say Desert Raiders I hardly knowers. The Desert Raiders with the melee damage that they have, thank you for the chuckle and placating me. The melee damage that they have obviously is going to be a little bit better against some of these knights, but it's their melee armor too. When they are in that, they have 5 melee armor. And I know the knights pack a punch, but Desert Raiders 26, because 13 plus 13, of course, going up against the early knights, you need a lot of knights to deal with this at a time when Avely, he's trying to get a second town center. He's trying to get some kind of economic prowess. And it's going to take a little bit of time for that second town center to pay off. I think Avely's realizing his time's running out.
When was the last time you saw a Rus tower their gold?
Yeah, I mean, it's...
I'm sorry. That
it's very difficult, you know, for when you're playing as the Rus and you got to start putting wooden outposts everywhere because they're a little bit more expensive, right? It's wood that you don't have. You would rather be using it in other places. Avely, you can see it on the top left-hand part of your screen. Taking a look at his resources, he's stockpiling to try to get up to castle, trying to put down maybe a high trade house in a particular department. But I'll tell you what, like, Rus, they need this little bit of time to try to get their second town center and try to establish that. Scout gets absolutely disintegrated. It was on horseback. The horse on the scout that was on, it was very uneasy. It was very difficult for him to take care of, but we'll be going down. The fortified palisades, I don't care how fortified they are. Ram's going to have something to say about it. High trade house coming out on the eastern side of Avely's base. And it's not just about getting up to castle, which, yes, he will be able to do, but it's getting the units to deal with this.
Oh, no, he's
And I don't know what Avely can actually do.
He's pop locked. Does he have the wood for a house? He doesn't. Oh, no. He's pop locked?
Yeah.
Okay, not anymore. Okay.
I was going to say, that's also quite the issue. It's going to make it a little difficult. I mean, Avely's trying to get some kind of army composition. He's got a few spearmen. He has a knight as well, and he's getting another early knight, but obviously those are quite expensive units, and when you're going up against things like a couple camel lancers, KaiserJohan has a little potpourri of an army composition. As you can see, some Desert Raiders, some camel lancers, some crossbowmen, and some archers as well to try to combat some of the spearmen. Military count 24-6 at a point where Avely is about 11 and a half minutes into the game. He's trying to get his feet out from under him. The Iubids, not only does he have his feet out from under him, but he already put some stilts on, baby.
He is pretty high up right now. Well, this honestly feels so much like a repeat of last game. The only difference this time is that KaiserJohan doesn't have the equal lead, just because he's not been on 2 TC. Avely does reach the castle age. And, I mean, high trade house, 54 trees, not too bad. Hasn't walled off this side, though, which could come back to bite him in the near future. But
yeah, I mean, with that, if he does try to go around that eastern side, the Kremlin might be there anyway, so maybe that's his thought process. He does have to pull the Kremlin gremlins. He did feed them after midnight. That's the joke I say over and over and over again, and I'm so glad everyone's not tired of it yet. They did get upgraded into Castle Age, but those archers are going to do quick work of them, especially of the Castle Age variety. Those horsemen that are coming out are of the Field Age variety as well, so not going to be able to do much of a surround. He actually ignores that gremlin completely, trying to take down some villagers. Lots of idle time here. He's got half of his economic count was pretty much idle. And now with KaiserJohan going into Castle Age, remember, this is an Abbasid variant, so you don't necessarily just have to make rams. You can make any siege apparatus you want. And he's going with the Manchanique.
Is that how to pronounce it? I actually never tried to pronounce it just before I was about to say it. Manchanique! Ah, okay, I love this thing. Just playing against the English, and you put on the incendiary, and you just target the mill, and you just see all the farms just evaporate. It's such a good feeling. Now, there is no farms to evaporate. However, there is a town center that is looking mighty juicy. That could be taken out very, very shortly here. Only issue for me right now is the fact that there's not that big of a front line for KaiserJohan. The other side, though, there's not much of army to speak of at all from Avely here, which could be an issue in the very, very near future.
Yeah, and it's really not fun when you're a Roost player and you have to go to berries. Also, I mean, his deer is pretty much lapped up, so he's going to have to deal with that. There's 2 rams, and I think there's a 3rd ram around the backside trying to come in. That Manjanique's going to help. We're going to see the napalm very shortly.
Oh, no.
If he goes for that town center, but he might be going for the villagers as well. Got to remember, if you're going to be using the Manjanique, you can use normal rocks on those knights, and that's exactly what he does. Gremlin's trying to come in right past that range line, trying to take hits on that Manjanique, but it looks like they targeted some of those archers instead. Not going to be as valuable to him. Manjanique taking a hit on those villagers. Only a little bit of damage. I think Avely might have a fresh change of clothes on those villagers, but another mangonel shot. Looks like a lot of them are at about 20 health. Manjanique gets popped into firewood, so we won't be in see the death of a lot of villagers, but with the second ram coming in against that town center is burning. The economic stronghold that Avely tried to get in this game, as all Roost players do with that second town center, it's about to be null and void. That last ram hit, reducing it to rubble. A lot of those villagers, we talked about that front wood line, we foreshadowed just a little bit in Dark Age. Now in Castle Age, we're seeing how detrimental it is. Those wood lines being a little bit too far forward means those archers were able to kill more villagers. That's 8 total worker kills for KaiserJohan, and there is absolutely no signs of slowing down Cow. He's adding another Manjanique where Avely, he's just trying to figure out what the hell is going on.
He's trying to solve a math problem while not having the correct education or anything. He's just having so much pressure on him right now. Berry's about to run out, however, at least there's a couple of berries still behind him, just because of Lipney and being such a good map. Surprised Avely did not pick a Berry Brothers civilization, but one thing we haven't talked about, Sacred Site still ticking behind this with those dervishes, has been able to pick them up. Last relic still hasn't been spotted, probably will never be spotted either, but he is fine sitting on 4 relics, 3 Sacred Sites, 750 gold a minute, 3 villagers mining. That gold is coming out of thin air right now, and he's putting it to good use. Archers, crossbows, ghulams, everything just being spent, making sure that he will be getting this win and getting on to the next round.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, KaiserJohan's now at a time where he can kind of drag his face across the keyboard and pick whatever unit he wants, and it's going to be pretty good. But it goes for that wood line. No lumber camp to speak of over there. Some long distance mining. Those villagers getting their steps in. On the flip side, on the western side, this mass from KaiserJohan, I know you talked about maybe not as much of a front line. A couple Ghulam's going to help him out in that department. But the range mass is just so massive. I really don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. Rams coming in on that gold mine. Looks like that wooden fortress, it tried to get some kind of payoff. Not quite. However, it will be taken down by some of those Rams, continuing to add siege on the battlefield. Such a devastating thing that the Ayubids are able to do. But you're absolutely right. In terms of the economy, I mean, yes, Avely has been ahead on villagers, but you talked about the religious artifacts. You talked about the sacred sites, which we didn't talk about. Avely's trying to counter raid, trying to get his counter raid on to get himself back into the game. I don't think it's going to be too effective where he has a more immediate danger. That one on the eastern side, that sacred site does get decapped. And you got to think, for that sacred site-ish victory, even though it's not there anymore, sometimes the best defense is a good offense, and that's really what KaiserJohan's trying to do. Avely with a springald, However, Springald's not going to do much against all those archers and crossbowmen. Avely has to back up from his starting town center, and that's when you know things are getting bad.
This could potentially be bad, though. I mean, the army is split here for KaiserJohan. Reinforcement will not have the easiest time of coming in here as well. Villagers being camped, though. Army not looking too hot right now. Archers targeting down buildings. Not what you like to see in the line. And this, we had foreshadowing on the woodlines. We had foreshadowing on the wall here. And it's really coming through here as well. KaiserJohan looking pretty damn close to making sure that this series that was not looking in his favor is going to be doing exactly that, though. Kremlins, 2 tickets is available. Town center targeting down the Manjik. Only 1 left remaining here, and he's been doing a lot of eco damage, but not a lot of building damage, to be fair here. Knight Mass is looking healthy, however, for Avely, though, and there's not too much to counter them. There's a couple of spears that is flooding in slowly but surely. High Trade House, 163 gold a minute, so at least 2 relics there.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about the High Trade House, too. I mean, 160 gold per minute. It does happen every minute, and I don't think there's a lot of minutes left in this particular game. I mean, KaiserJohan's even walling in that eastern side, keeping Avely back into that base. He's running around the Kremlin looking for villagers. 25 idle villagers right now, and KaiserJohan's already killed 32. The Night Mass that you talked about, having about maybe 10 or 11 knights, is reduced down to 3 on the southern side. There are 3 other ones scattered around, probably trying to do some counter raiding, and he's doing the best he can to try to get some sort of Night Mass, but you're staring down the barrel of not only those archers, but those Ghulams, 13 crossbowmen, and those knights are, as we talked about with Jean d'Arc in the previous game, in game 1, quite the expensive unit. And for how long it takes to train, it's going to take a while for him to do that, and honestly, it's just time Avely doesn't have.
Yeah, it's not exactly available time, and KaiserJohan right now just running around. I'm just hoping this game makes stop. One of the things that actually... Okay, this is another anecdote, which is just completely unnecessary. I was actually a little bit sad to see that there was no, like, religious victory in terms of, like, if you have all 5 relics, you could, like, win by that, if that makes sense. But then you realize, okay, relics with Titan Barnes is actually kind of broken, so... You know, maybe not have a sacred, like, have a victory condition on that itself. But it does help to another victory in terms of just resource generation. Avely has actually been surprisingly unscattered on this left-hand side, though, because he has been able to get this entire berry bush and even moved out to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the only food resource he's had that's quote-unquote safe. You know, I mean, obviously you can't get that deer on the eastern side. Knights are trying to come in on this front line, but they will be met by spearmen, even though they're of the feudal age capacity. There aren't enough knights to really make too much of a difference, and KaiserJohan trying to go for a death push here. I mean, for how many rams that he's trying to make. I think Avely knows how far behind he is in this game, but you got to be thinking, I know for people in chat might be thinking, oh, why isn't he GGing? Why isn't he getting rid of this game? This is a game 3 of a tournament. You know, you got to give it everything that you have to make sure if you're out of the tournament, you better take me out. I'm not going down.
Yeah, and Avely is one of those people I know from... He doesn't mind the longest games. I remember speaking to him after an hour-and-a-half long game. I was like, props for standing in the game, and he said, yeah, it was fine. I put on some music and laid back and just kind of just chilled and played out the game. That's, I mean, that's one way to do it. I'm not going to discredit him. However, it's not looking too hot right now in terms of comeback mechanics and opportunities.
No, I mean, and KaiserJohan's doing the right thing about building rams. He's trying to end this game, obviously, in a landmark capacity. So that town center is going to be going down. The Ghulams are going to be helping out the Rams with their torches. And obviously, the last landmark, the big landmark, because the High Trade House is going to be pretty easy to take down. But the last landmark is the Kremlin, right? You got to be thinking about how you're going to end up taking that one down. I do think in this particular situation, it might be a little bit easier for him to do. But usually in typical Roos games, landmark victories aren't something that necessarily occur.
Yeah, it's a bit odd, but gotta say, he's staying in the game. Market has been dropped as well. I don't know if this even has been used. He's been used to by a little bit of food, I think. But yeah, he's just vibing, he's chilling. Mangonel has come out, and it's an opportunity to actually take out the entire archer mass and the crossbow mass. Will it stay alive, though, is a question. Will it be getting off one shot, but will be completely missing anything in existence, and that is going to be it. Avely taps out, and that is KaiserJohan going to be making it to the next round, the quarterfinals. I'm not too sure who we will be facing, but I'm sure we will find out soon enough.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, even though that game 3 looked pretty convincing from KaiserJohan, this was a back and forth series. You know, I mean, obviously there's a reason why this went to a game 3, and I don't think it was specifically matchup dependent. I mean, both of these players really did a good job taking it to the other guy, you know, getting a game apiece off of these guys to get that pivotal game 3. But now that this one is in the books, you can see the villager count and the military count for both these players. Obviously, Avely couldn't hold that second town center, and militaristically, the dervishes obviously coming in clutch and getting enough gold for him to pump out all of those things like Ghulam's crossbowmen and the like. So well played by KaiserJohan in a 2-1 series victory